WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. Balcones Cataleja. It's not a real word. Now, this is actually a word that sounds similar to something in Spanish, which means spyglass. And so they're actually looking back into the past. They're on the shoulders of giants, and they're recognizing at Balcones the past and those who came before them. This was bottled for the 15th anniversary of Balcones. So we have 15 years of distilling at Texas, in Waco, Texas. I have never been at Balcones. I need to go one day. I had one afternoon once in Texas, and it was like, all right, I'm going to drive down there, drive back, and not make it back in time for my next appointment. Didn't do it. All right, so that's one of the things. I regret more things I didn't do than I did do, which is which is good and bad, right? All right, whiskey base number 242528. Now, just very briefly, my version of the history of Balcones. We have a guy. We have to go back to the year 2008. Chip Tate, the guy was a hero in the whiskey world back then. He literally made his own still. All right, under the bridge in Waco, he built this distillery, shoehorned it in there, and he started making whiskey and brought in a partner. That didn't go good. Chip was kicked out, more or less, and then Balcones continued. And 2016, they actually moved into a building that used to be a warehouse of theirs, and they have there the four sides pot stills with this corkscrew line arm, which is amazing. And what they're doing is great. 2 years ago, Diageo came in, bought the company, basically said for Europe, screw you, you're not going to get any products anymore. And since 2024, we're sitting here with no more new products from Balcones. There are a few products left in inventory at a few shops. Buy them up if you're in Europe. It will be a while before we get new products. What I hope is that they expand the distillery Diageo, and that they actually help us to have enough products also for the world and not just for the US. So this product is difficult to describe because they did something very interesting. Now, Balcones usually, not exclusively, but usually gets their malted barley from the UK, Golden Promise. And what they did is they matured it first for about 3 years in used Kentucky bourbon barrels with about 200 liters each. That's okay. That's just where the normal things happen at Balcones. Why they're not using their own barrels, ex-bourbon barrels, I don't know, but maybe they just need them. All right. So after roughly 3 years of maturation, they actually take it out and they put it into, and this is the interesting moment, they put it into decommissioned 500 to 700 liter sherry-solera puncheons. Now, Jared Hinstedt and a few others had been the year before in Spain. They went to a bodega and they actually were able to purchase 4 sherry-solera puncheons. So a solera is you have 3 rows of casks. Sometimes they're on top of each other. Sometimes they're just in different warehouses or whatever. And the very bottom row is the sherry that has been matured the longest. You take out half of it from the row above, which is younger, of course. You put it now in the row below. You fill that up. That is now half empty. You take it from the front row, which is only maybe a year or two, the top row, and put it down in the middle row. And then you refill the top row with new sherry wine. And so you go through the first level, the second level, and the third level. And so they actually got here the Solera puncheons, a Moscatel Dorado, a Amontillado Dulce, sweet, Oloroso and Palo Cortado. And what they did is, after emptying enough of the bourbon barrels, first fill or used Kentucky bourbon barrels, they transferred it into these 4 casks. And they let it sit there for a little over a year of finishing time. So they took that whiskey out of that first batch, put it into neutral barrels, which just mean Kentucky ex-bourbon barrels that have been used more than a few times, so they're very neutral, and put new 3-year-old, roughly, single malt into those puncheons. They did that one, so a total 3 times. And then they married everything together, and we have that what we have. Confusing, complicated, isn't it? Now, they actually says here, next we finish 2 additional rounds of refill single malt with these puncheons, picking up subtle traces of the sherry along with my nemesis sulfur and funk. Where did the sulfur come from? Did they put a sulfur candle in there so they could transport the puncheons over to Texas? I don't know. All right, so now there's another factor of Balcones that I'm just going to read because I think it's interesting and I'm not really sure it's what I think it is. Coalescence. Coalescence happens, for example, with raindrops. You take little raindrops, they merge together, and you get bigger giant raindrops. You can take bubbles, merge together, bigger bubbles. All right, that's what coalescence is. And over the years, it says here on the website, we have learned to give whiskey and wine finishing time to commingle in neutral casks to encourage integration of 2 separate elements, with further oxidation and evaporation leading to a unity of purpose and elevated flavor. The majority of casks that went into Cataleja experienced this period of post-finishing coalescence in neutral oak before being pulled in consideration for the final Cataleja blend. The majority, not all. All right, so what am I going to compare this to? This, at the moment, is my favorite bottle of Balcones I have. This was an auction bottle I bought. This is from Whiskybase Archives. This is Balcones Distillery. This is Texas single malt, 62.9%. It was actually in a heavy charred medium toast virgin oak, American virgin oak barrel for 3 years. Barrel entry proof was 124, so 62%, and it was bottled here at 125.8 per proof. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful product. I love it. I did a bottle share. Luckily, 15 CLs now belong to me. And every once in a while, I need a happy face. I go here. This is my happy moment whiskey at the moment. All right. Now, people have tried this online, and when you read it, you hear one thing: sherry bomb. And it's not a modern day Abalawa Abona with a syrup sherry type of artificial flavoring moment. This is old school sherry. And what I'm displeased with is they actually used all 4 of these sherries and just mingled them all together. And I have the feeling that these different types of sherries or sherry finished whiskeys are still battling it out. I think the Moscatel and the Palo Cortado are the dominant factors here, and they are not integrated into this unity, but rather they still fight. Now, the Amontillado and the Oloroso, I don't get it, but I think I get the Moscatel and the Palo Cortado, which are really dominant. 500 liters, 700 liters, the biggest size that we can actually mature whiskey in Europe, as well as in Scotland and Ireland, and soon, hopefully, in America, single malt is 700 liters. You can't use anything bigger than that because that turns into a vatting tank, and we don't want to include the age of vatting on the label. So you dump the barrels, you put it in a big tank, and you leave it there for a year. Does it continue to mature? No. If it's over 700 milliliters, it does not, according to the law. All right. Now on the nose, I get old school sherry concentration. I have enjoyed sherry bombs in the past. I will enjoy sherry bombs in the future. I don't know if I want to pay. I paid $159 for this bottle. In the States, it's $125. I had to pay, of course, our import, excise tax, and all that. So the price was, it was okay. I can live with the price. Now, I'm going to give this whiskey a D for value for money. This is not a whiskey you need to go out and hunt and try to find, unless you're a Balcones fan. If you're a Balcones fan, why haven't you bought it already? All right, so for the normal drinker, no, we don't need that bottle. All right, so now on the nose, there's a dark richness. There's sherry. There's prune juice. There's a little bit of that lime sherbet that I get often with Balcones. I love that moment. At least that's what my brain associates with Balcones, lime sherbet. That's a positive thing in my life. A tiny, tiny little bit of coffee bean moment. And a lot of dark, rich syrup, dark, rich, thick sherry. I'm trying to avoid the word syrupy, because for me, syrup sherry is bad, and this is thick, rich sherry. 59%, wow. So here we have 62.9, so it was 0.9, wasn't it? Yes, 62.9. Cheers. Astringency. This is like a roller coaster of flavors. Sometimes I want transitions. There's like almost too many. It's like, I love you, I don't like you. I hate you, I love you. And it's just going back and forth. The very first time I drank this, it's like, I don't know. Is this going to be a C whiskey or is it going to be a B whiskey? It's not bad, but is it something I really like? It's thick. It's velvety. It coats the entire mouth. Almost like a little bit of a layer of fur on my tongue. That is amazingly different. This whiskey, if you like old school sherry flavors, exactly what you need. They even say a little bit of sulfur and funk. Have you ever had a Campbelltown funk? This has the Waco, Texas funk. It's there. But I think I really like it. As I mentioned, I think the Palo Cortado and the Moscatel are really just kind of fighting it out a little bit. Maybe it's the Amontillado that comes in there and just gets a little bit of disharmonics going on, but okay. This is going to be a B minus, on a bad day, C++ whiskey. Value for money, as I've already mentioned, a D. Now, I hope Balcones can get their hands, because they belong to Diageo, on some good Port Ellen peated malt and make some good peated whiskey. I have heard rumors of Balcones wanting to primarily focus on single malt and therefore neglect the processing of bourbon, corn whiskey, rye. We'll see what happens there. I hope they expand the facilities at Waco so they can finally serve the world here with enough whiskey, because I think they're doing great, great things. And I would like to thank Miss Canada, Kasten. She lives over here in Germany. Married to a guy from Canada, and she imported this bottle, and I bought it from her. So thank you very much for that as well. Very briefly, I want to go to my happy place, and that's this bottle. Mm. Wow. This is an A whiskey. Just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. That is beautiful. So, single barrel, probably European exclusive. Wow. I think Balcones can make some great single malt, especially at cask strength. I mean, just blows my socks off. My question of the day, and this is a little bit geeky, nerdy. What whiskey expressions, what whiskey bottlings have you ever heard of? You don't even have to have tried it. Have you ever heard of that have used real Solera sherry casks? Now, if it says here matured in sherry hogshead, they don't use hogsheads in Solera. Matured in a sherry butt, probably not. These are puncheons. These are big 500 to 700 liters, and bodegas do not give them up lightly. And so these are something very, very special. I know there have been a few whiskeys in the last, I'm going to say 20 years, where there have been guaranteed, certified, believable use of Solera Fässer, sorry, the German word, Solera casks for the whiskey finishing. Which ones do you know of? Put them down in the comments. That'd be great to have a little bit of discussion there, because I'm not going to start the discussion about what is a seasoned cask. What are transport casks? I'm asking literally here about old Solera casks, now used individually, in this case, for whiskey finishing. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and telling others about this crazy guy over in Germany, often reviewing whiskey you may never ever see. Bye-bye.